Hi, I'm Sheila DeLuca, and welcome to the Atrium. All of us at DeLuca Leadership, the Business Link, and Spark Niagara are extremely excited for the launch of the program, the Atrium. As you would think of growing, cultivating, and harvesting a garden, conversations on the Atrium will focus on the planting of seeds for a growth mindset and the rising to a healthy, hopeful, and optimistic bright future. Our shows will focus on a theme based on the guest star's experience for motivation and encouragement. Here on the Atrium, our intention is to allow for the conversations to be open and genuine regarding where we go from here and what matters most. Our stories hope to inspire the professional and business communities, the volunteer programs, and families. Our guests are the exemplars of the top business and community leaders and critical thinkers whose word matches their action, because that is what we need now, action. Our guest today is no stranger to the boxing world and to the City of Niagara Falls. Throughout his life, he has been inspired by many role models, mentors, and coaches throughout his professional, athletic career and political career. This man takes his athletic training and applies it to his works in the community by going above and beyond to serve children and families. He can be found on various committees, such as the Recreation Committee and the Park and the City Committee, but is most notable to be found at Oaks Park running Heaters Heroes and running long distances. It is with great honor I introduce our guest today, a friend, a fighter for change, an advocate for the City of Niagara Falls, Councillor Mike Strange. Hi, Mike. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you. So the last time I saw you, you and fellow Councillor Victor Pietrangelo were running 50 kilometers on a very hot day at the end of June. Can you tell our audience a little bit about what was going through your mind, why you decided to do such a feat together? What was the idea behind?
Well, I think, myself and fellow councillor Victor Pietrangelo, we want to do something special or something kind of memorable and turn this kind of pandemic into kind of a positive thing for our community. So we want to do something on the 100th day of lockdown. It's been since March 17th, St. Patty's Day, St. Hilarious coaches here, and we thought of doing something on the 100th day of lockdown, and especially for kids who've been keeping themselves safe and isolating themselves and socially distancing, and we know it's a struggle for them. So we thought, what could we do on the 100th day of lockdown, and I thought doing 100 kilometers, and thank God we didn't. We decided to do a combination of 50 kilometers each, and we called it the 100 challenge, and we wanted to do for something special, and we thought of a great organization called Community Crew, where they help feed children at elementary schools lunches, and we knew that we wanted to raise money in our own community and keep it here. And they help currently 14 schools in our region, and they want to go up to 20 by the end of 2020. So we want to help them reach that goal. And I think it was so special because it was a struggle, man. That last 20 kilometers, coming from Welland going into Niagara Falls to James Warden School, like we were all cramping up, and just like kids, they need the nutrients to learn, and they have to have those lunches to process and to think and to learn better in schools. We needed that to get through that run and the struggle and cramping up muscles. We need the nutrients. So it was kind of ironic that we were doing it for that, and we need the same energy that the kids need to learn. So we wanted to do something that wasn't going to be easy. It was going to be a struggle, just like it is a struggle for children to learn without nutrition. So we need to feed these children that need our help.
Yes. So there was many challenges that day. What was some of the challenges that sticks out in your mind for you that day? Besides the heat, what else was a challenge for you physically, mentally, emotionally?
Well, I think, once we started in St. Catharines and went along the Welland Canal to Thorold and then over to Welland, and we were probably about 21 kilometers left, but we really, myself and Vic, and there was a few other runners. Peter Dichter Jr. He came. We all started to really feel cramping up. But we had a golf cart beside us, thank God, with a couple of my friends in there and giving us nutrients and food and drink. But we were on a kind of a tight schedule, so we had to go to different schools at different times. So we had to keep going. But that last 15 to 20 kilometers was really, really tough because every one of us started cramping up, and it's so ironic because you need that nutrients to go forward and get through the day and, to think properly and to actually function. And kids have to do that at schools. If they're not getting fed properly or not getting lunches, how do you go through their day and think properly and be able to understand and learn? And we were going through the same kind of struggle that kids were going through during their school year when they're not being fed properly.
Yes. When you have those challenges, right, no matter what they may be, there's always a silver lining. What was the best part of that day for you, physically, mentally, emotionally? What kind of stuck out to you?
Well, I think the highlight, our last kind of 5 kilometers, we're running towards James Morton School. We were meeting at parking lot in Dan's Produce on McLeod Road, and we were all really struggling. I was like, how am I going to do this? But then we saw a lot of people coming and join, like yourself and my girlfriend Susie, and a lot of kids were cheering us on, and that really gets you through it. That mental part gets you through the physical part, and there was no quitting us. And I don't know if we could have done it without that last little help from all the people who came out and ran with us that final 5 kilometers. So, we were there kind of individually running, but it really helped having that support from all our community to get through that final 5 kilometers.
Yeah, that's so great. That's lovely.
Like 50 kilometers is tough. You talk about a marathon, and it's 42.2 kilometers. We're doing extra 8 kilometers on a very, very hot day. And you look at a guy like Vic Peterangelo, who's a big guy, sweats a lot, and you need all those nutrients back. And those final 15 to 20 kilometers were crazy. But getting through that 5 kilometers and helping getting the support from our community and fellow runners running with us and pushing us through really, really helped, and we needed that support.
Excellent. So is that silver lining behind these challenges, these ideas, these great ideas, and giving back, and just a community friends, family coming together all at once just for that final encouragement.
Yeah, it really, really helped.
You guys are really sit down, you brainstorm ideas, you make things happen, right? So that's just who you guys are, who you are, right? We've been on that same end. And tell me a little bit, what was the best part of your physical, mental, and emotional journey for you? We're trying to get our mindset, we're trying to get inside of your mind and see what you see in our audience and kind of get to know what pushes Mike Strange through some of the best times and the worst of times. So
well, people know I was never a runner. I ran when I boxed and trained for the Olympics, but I would always run 3 miles as fast as I can. Yeah. And Terry Fox was one of my heroes, and I'm sure he's a Canadian icon. You know what I mean? There should be a day in honor of him, where it's a holiday for Terry Fox, because what he did back in 1980 was just unbelievable. Having cancer as a kid and getting his leg amputated and having a prosthetic, which back then the prosthetics were horrible. His legs were bleeding, chafed, and to go from Newfoundland all the way to Thunder Bay on one leg for as long as he did, doing a marathon a day, is just incredible. But he's raised so much money for cancer research, and he wanted to raise money for children because he was 17. He was a child when he was diagnosed, and shortly, when he was forced to stop near Thunder Bay, his cancer spread from his leg to his lungs, and they say in one side of his lungs there was a tumor the size of a golf ball, and the other was a tumor size of a lemon. So he couldn't go any further. And he was kind of my inspiration, but I was inspired by a guy named Heater. Bob Lavelle was his name, and he's a friend of my father's, and he helped me out in my boxing career, and he helped raise money for me for training at the Olympics, because when you're training for the Olympics, you don't get any money. Basically, you get funded a little bit by the government, but you have to concentrate in your training as hard as you can to compete with the world's best, as well as trying to go to school and work and whatever. And so Heater was very inspirational and a mentor of mine who helped me out that way and hooked me up with good trainers and stuff. Well, when I finished my boxing career after Sydney Olympics in 2000, in 2008, Heater phoned me and says, "My niece is going to the Olympics in Beijing in 2008. Would you like to go?" And for softball. I said, I would love to go. He's going to bring me, and he worked for Bell Mobility at the time. And I said, so I phoned him. Haven't heard from Heater, and a couple weeks later, I phoned him. I said, what's going on? Because I want to make arrangements through work to go to Beijing, and it'd be nice to be a spectator at the Olympics and not have to compete and train all the time and have some fun. So he goes, Mike, I got this pain in my shoulder that's, brought me to my knees, the pain. And I always knew Heater was a big, tough guy, strong guy. Nothing hurt him. I said, oh my God, you better get that checked out. Well, a couple of days later, he phoned me. He says, Mike, I can't go to Beijing. We can't go because I was diagnosed with cancer. Didn't know much about cancer, and one of the worst cancers you can get is pancreatic cancer, and he had that, and he went through all the treatment, and 8 short months later, he passed away. It was unreal, you know what I mean? It was very upsetting. He was a mentor of mine and helped me a lot, and I'll never forget going into his funeral, and I was with Doug Gilmore at the time, to tell you the truth, and I said, wow, I have to do something special for my buddy Heater. So I started an event called Heater's Heroes Run for Children. And so it was at Oaks Park where he actually did this Molson NHL slow pitch years ago, so it was a perfect fit, and we would help kids who had terminal illnesses, life-altering illnesses or injuries in honor of Heater. So we called it Heater's Heroes Run for Children. And the first year we did it in honor of Heater, we helped 13 children, and they would just basically walk around the track, which is like 400 meters. You don't realize, a child who's fighting some kind of illness like cancer and them trying just to get wheeled or walked or riding a bike. It's like running a marathon to them. It really is 400 meters. And I met this young girl, Kelsey Hill, who was fighting a brain tumor. She was from Stevensville, Fort Erie, and she was in a wheelchair, and it was really tough. She was paralyzed because of the stem cell, or the tumor was touching her back and her spine. And I met her, and she was just full of life, and she wanted to go through her wish. She wanted to go to New York and Vegas. She was doing special things, but through us, we were like almost a smaller version of a Wish Foundation. We would help them whenever we can, and all they wanted was a chairlift from where where her bedroom was down to the bathroom, where she had to go in the middle of the night or whatever it was. So we made that happen, and it was a small wish, but and I just thought we were doing a kind of a celebration after we raised over $13,000 that first year for 13 children.
Right.
And shortly after, we kind of had a party for all the volunteers that that were there, and we were having a few beers and cocktails, and it just came to my idea, the Kelsey Hill fighting this horrible disease, and I thought of Terry Fox, which we do the Terry Fox run at Oaks Park too. Mm-hmm. It was about a month after Heater's Heroes. I thought, what can we do to help these children? I thought, Terry Fox, what he did was just extraordinary. I said, has anyone ever actually continued his run from Thunder Bay to Victoria? And myself and Justin Valancourt, my buddy, were Googling it, and it's like no one had. I'm like, I'm doing it.
You're doing it.
I'm doing it.
So evidently you are not a stranger to running, a sport, giving back to the community, doing charity work. Let's just shift focus a little bit to running for city council for the first time. What were your first intentions when you decided to run for public office?
Well, I never thought I actually would run. Actually, Wayne Thompson asked me years ago when he was mayor, when I was coming back from the Olympics in 2000, if I would run. And I'm like, oh, Wayne, I don't know much about politics, and Wayne's a mentor of mine and mayor for so many years.
Yeah. And
he's still on council. So he asked me, I said, well, it's not my time yet. I don't know much about politics. And then when I did my second run, the 94 marathons, 94 days, and coming into Oaks Park, and then I had a buddy said, you should run for politics. I go, I don't know if I'm ready yet. And I decided, I was born and raised in Niagara Falls. I love my community, and I would like to help my community in any way. So I basically, threw it in there and signed up in 2014 and ended up, coming second behind Kim Crater, who was a legendary city councilor, and it was just amazing. It's I was so nervous going in. I remember the first meeting, and I knew Vic Pietrangelo. I know basically every councilor, but these people have been on there for years.
Right.
What do I know? And
Yeah.
you just go through the process, and you're learning from the best around that horseshoe, and the mayor, and they all help you out, and they groom you, and you groom yourself, and it's tough sometimes because you make hard decisions, and I always say, if you go with your heart and you think it's right, then you vote the way you want to, even though you might vote against your fellow councilor, like a Victor Pietrangelo, who's a good friend of mine, and we go out afterwards to eat, and we're just like, what, hey, you went your way, you went my way, and you still remain friends, right?
Absolutely. So
You had the best interest that you think at that time for the city.
Exactly. And can you tell us how your focus has changed over the past 4, 5, 6 years, or second term in council right now? How has your focus strengthened, evolved, developed since you were your first year on city council?
Well, I guess you get a little bit more confident when you go to these meetings. Sometimes you get nervous, obviously, talking about topics that you're not comfortable with or not familiar with, and you learn in the process, and you do that through the help of senior staff and through fellow councilors. So, I guess you bring up topics that I'm always like, I'm on the rec committee, I'm on the park and the city committee and stuff that you're familiar with, but then there's some stuff that you're not comfortable, like budgeting or could be the planning matters, but you get through that, and you got through that in the first 4 years, and we have two new city councilors, Chris Dabrowski and Lori Lukoka, going through that same process that I was going through in the first term, and they're doing a great job. So, sometimes they reach out to me, and I'm not no veteran, that's for sure, but, you try to help them along and help the process, and sometimes they reach out to you for help, and I do the same to them.
How would you apply your runner's mindset, that philosophy, to your role as city councilor in Niagara Falls?
Well, I think being, on council, it's my second term now, but you learn a lot more. You're almost getting your poli-sci degree in the 4 years that you're learning the process, right?
Yes.
And you're learning everything, through staff and senior staff at City Hall, and they've been very patient, and it's a huge learning curve,
Right.
And so you learn the process. Just like, look, we have new councilors, Lori Lukoka and Chris Dabrowski, who are doing an amazing job, and they're learning, and they're doing a great job, and we're very lucky to have those two, and it's, and just learning the process and everything. Like a veteran councilor like Vic Pietrangelo, who knows the budgeting and the planning, like he's unbelievable. He knows it. So if I have a problem or I need some help, I reach out to some fellow councilors or some senior staff, and maybe you don't understand the process, and you try not to be afraid. And at first I was a little bit nervous, obviously, going through that, but you just have to go and say, I need some help on the process. What is the process here? How do we, through planning or through the budgeting, and you don't see where's this money coming from, or wherever it may come. And I think we're doing a great job, and we're working there as a team. It's not an individual effort. Sometimes you come with, there's differences, and sometimes you learn to go through those differences and get through that, and whatever the best interest of our city.
So with that being said, Mike, I'm seeing a lot of correlations here with you being an athlete and putting on the community events, and now being a city councilor. How would you apply your runner's mindset, that philosophy, to your role as city councilor in Niagara Falls?
Yeah, I think even from boxing and from running, and it gets you through the tough times, because there's been tough times, and especially in running, where you don't think you can go anymore, but you fight through it because you're thinking of you got an angel of Matteo Mancini or an angel of Kelsey Hill, and they're telling you got to keep going. You know what I mean? I'm not running to break any records. I'm running to help children, and through Ronald McDonald House and childhood cancer research. So everyone's going to go through bumps in the road all the time.
Yeah.
Life isn't easy, and you're going to go through struggles, and that's what makes you a better person, or a stronger person, once you can get through that, because at the end you have that goal, and once you reach that goal, you set another goal, and you keep on going.
Right.
Goals never end. You just keep getting more challenging, I think.
So my next question for you, what is next for you? What are your next personal and professional goals?
You know what, I just want to be the best person I can. You know, you go through the struggles and you try to do stuff that's bigger and beyond what people think is actually humanly possible.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's climbing a mountain or running or, you know, trying whatever it is in politics to make you a better person and to help other people, and especially children.
Yeah.
You know, that's my passion is helping children, especially children who are fighting cancer. And, you know, hopefully one day, you know, Terry Fox did it in 1980, 40 years ago, and doing what he did and try to carry on his legacy and all these children's legacy and keep their story going. But hopefully I would never want to see, you know, children go through what some of these children have gone through, and hopefully the treatment gets better. I know in particular cancer, osteosarcoma, the cancer hasn't improved at all, like the treatment for it. You know, the prosthetics have improved, you know, and I've seen a few children that have fought osteosarcoma and they've passed away, and we have one fighting right now, Julianne Misk, and just a special girl, and she's fighting, and one of those cancers that we need a lot more research and better treatment for, and hopefully we'll get there someday, and I won't stop fighting until we do.
No, you are a fighter. And if someone could get inside of your mind and see what you see, what would you hope that person learn from your runner's mindset, your runner's philosophy? What would you hope that they would learn?
Well, I always remember before I was actually going on my second run, it was 94 marathons in 94 days, and someone said to me, that is impossible. There's no way that you could do that. And I just said, I'm gonna make sure and let everyone know that the impossible is possible. So I think never quitting or never giving up. If someone was in my mind, they would realize that there's no quitting him. He's gonna find a way to get through it, and you know, and getting through and crashing through those walls and those bumps in the road to get to the next goal.
Right.
And,
crushing that curve, crushing
that's right,
that
for
wall.
sure, for
Absolutely. Sure. And sometimes, being a public figure that you are, that you give back, sometimes people can see you as a superhero with some superpowers, right? And really what you really are is your ordinary person doing extraordinary things. But if you were a superhero, or what would you say would be your superpower?
I would never ever say I'm a superhero. You know, a superhero is Terry Fox.
Yes.
That's a superhero.
Absolutely.
To do what he did on one leg and cancer going throughout his whole body from his leg to his lungs, that's a superhero. But if there was some kind of power or something, which I don't know that I have, it would kind of be that there's no quit in me. I never give up.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Mike, for being here today. I totally appreciate your time and the value that you bring to the Atrium, the value you bring to our city, and all that you do. I read a quote by Muhammad Ali the other day, and it says, "Service to others is the rent you pay for the room you have here on earth." And that is what you do. You serve other people with a fighter's gift to give back every single day without any expectation in return. So thank you for all that you do for Niagara Falls and for the region and the larger community, and for being here with us.
Oh, well, thank you for having me and let me tell my story. Thank you.
Thank you.